Hello friends, welcome back to the next session on Service Operations Management. Now let's begin with our learning. In this particular session, we'll be understanding and dealing with the concept of customer satisfaction survey examples. The learning objectives. At the end of this particular session, the learners will be able to understand what do we mean by customer satisfaction survey, what is the importance of customer satisfaction survey, understand what are the various activities that are being undertaken under the customer satisfaction survey, and we'll also understand or describe the various factors that have been associated for conducting a better and effective customer satisfaction survey. The customer satisfaction survey is just an analysis of data which tries to identify and measure about what is the level of understanding or what is the level of feeling of a particular customer about a particular product or a particular service. So when a particular customer or a consumer purchases our products or avails our services, we need to always identify that whether he is happy and satisfied with the service or whether he is unhappy or dissatisfied with our service. So understanding or taking the various measures or steps to understand whether he's happy or unhappy, all those measures or techniques are called as a satisfaction survey. And the survey that has been undertaken for the satisfaction or identification of satisfaction of the customer is called as the customer satisfaction survey. These particular satisfaction surveys may be either undertaken in the oral online format or maybe either taken in an offline format. In case of an oral satisfaction survey, the questions may be asked to the customers and accordingly, he may answer or our questions. In case of an non-oral survey, we may provide a certain questionnaire and accordingly, the customer can answer those particular questions as and when it has been required, and he may provide the various results to us. Now let us understand what are the various 3 C's of customer satisfaction. The first C of customer satisfaction is consistency. The second C of customer satisfaction is consistency. And again, the third C of customer satisfaction is consistency. So the first consistency stands for the product. The second consistency stands for the company. And the third consistency stands for the customer. Now let's understand what are the various qualitative research question types. So the first qualitative research question types is exploratory questions. The second question that can be asked maybe is a predictive questions. The third type of question that can be asked in terms of qualitative research is interpretative questions. The fourth type of question that can be asked is descriptive questions. The fifth type of question that can be asked is comparative questions. The sixth type of question that can be asked is relationship-based questions. So in case of those consideration, in case of an exploratory questions, we try to explore or we try to get or collect the information from the various sources, alternatives, and the information from the people, that is the customers. In case of an predictive questions, we predict a certain scenario or a certain case, and on those particular basis, we try to collect a certain information. On the basis of interpretative questions, we have a certain interpretation, and on the basis of certain interpretations, a certain hypothetical or certain guesses are being taken, and we try to come to a conclusion about what can be a scenario or a situation about a certain situation. In case of an descriptive questions, we try to analyze a particular situation and the customer is asked to describe a particular scenario. That is, how does he feel about a particular product? What are the various n number of features and what are his various considerations about those particular products and services? The comparative questions. In case of an comparative questions, one needs to identify and try to see as to how those particular comparison can be made available between one product and another product, one commodity and other commodity, and so on. The next 6 perspective is the relationship-based questions. On the basis of relationship-based question, what is the correlation of one product to another product, one commodity to another commodity, and so on. And hence, on those particular basis, the relationship-based question needs are identified and they have been designed. Now let us understand what are the various examples that improve the customer satisfaction. Number 1 is first is listening to the customers. Number 2, the second perspective is being proactive, that is practicing the honesty and managing the expectations. Number 3 is understanding our customers. So on these particular basis, we can understand our customers and accordingly, the customer satisfaction level can be increased. Now let's understand what is the process of customer satisfaction. The first step in our customer satisfaction process is issues are being reported. So accordingly, first we need to identify what is the issue or what is the problem that is being associated, and then we need to take the various steps or measures for identification of customer satisfaction. The second consideration is the second step for the process customer satisfaction is investigation the issue. So we need to investigate what is the problem all about, what are the various problems that have been associated with a certain product or a certain commodity, and how those particular products or commodities or surveys can be undertaken. The third consideration is corrective actions. So accordingly, on the basis of various actions that we need to identify, on the basis of investigation that we have undertaken, we need to make a corrective actions about what actions can be initiated and how those particular problems can be solved. The fourth step or the process of customer satisfaction is customer follow-up. So we need to make the follow-up with the customer about whatever corrective actions that we have undertaken are beneficial, useful to the business organization, useful to the consumers or not, and how it can help or how the service delivery has been improvised. The fifth consideration of the process of customer satisfaction is root cause analysis. So on the basis of root cause analysis, one needs to identify about and whether we have identified the root cause, whether the problem has been solved or not, and so on. The sixth step is preventive action. So on the basis of preventive action, we need to identify whatever actions that we have undertaken, whether they have been beneficial, whether they have been useful, and whether it has acted in the long run for a satisfaction level of an individuals or not. The seventh step that needs to be considered is customer follow-up. So the process that needs to be undertaken at customer follow-up is, again, we need to approach to the customer, then we need to identify what measures we have undertaken and how those measures will be helpful for the organization and for the customers in the long run. Then eighth process of the customer satisfaction survey or the measures or the examples is verification of effectiveness. So we need to identify and assess what is the effectiveness of the verification or the steps that we have undertaken and whether it has helped the customer satisfaction level to improvise or not. And lastly, the ninth step is the customer survey. So in this way, at the end level, we take a customer survey and we give a certain call as to how the feedback has been taken and what measures what we have implemented are beneficial for the resolving of the issues or not. Now let's understand what are the 5 essential customer service elements. Number 1, the first essential element is the respect. That is, we need to respect to the customer, we need to respect to the individual, we need to respect to the company, the manufacturing concerns, and so on. The second essential customer service element is understanding. We must understand our customers, what is their problem, how the benefit can be derived to them, and how qualitative services can be delivered to the customers. And hence, understanding the customers is essentially important. The third perspective is listening. So we must effectively listen to the customers. What are their problems? What are their doubts? And how those particular problems or issues can be addressed. And for patience listening and effective listening is essentially required. The next perspective or the fifth essential customer service element is responding. So whenever we show a respect, whenever we understand, whenever we listen to the customers, we must immediately and quickly respond to the customers. So accordingly, responding is also essentially important and required. And lastly, the servicing. So accordingly, on the basis of response that we have seen, we must immediately provide the service to the customers, and accordingly, service delivery should be immediate, quick, and at a gradual and effective stage. Now let's take up various sample customer satisfaction survey questions. The first question that can be asked is, how long you have been using this product? Which alternatives do you consider before purchasing the product? How often do you use this particular product or service? Does the product help you to achieve your goals? And lastly, what is your favorite tool or portion of the product or service? So these are the various sample survey satisfaction questions which can be asked to the customers, which are very simple, specific, precise, and accordingly have the specific choices or alternatives in which the customer can answer very easily. Now let's understand what are the various guide for the questions. So the various guide to the questions are, when it comes to the client satisfaction survey, the goal is to keep the questions as brief as possible. So we must always keep the questions very short, precise, and specific. The second consideration is, always whenever we are asking the questions to the customers, only the conversation should last not more than 3 to 5 minutes, and accordingly, only 15 to 20 questions should be asked to the customers. And lastly, always whenever we ask the questions to the customers, there should be a healthy discussion between the respondent and between the questionnaire or between the researcher. And accordingly, always the survey should not draw away the attention of the respondent also and the questionnaires or the persons or the researchers also. So in this way, the research should be very specific, and accordingly, the survey that needs to be undertaken should be very precise. Now let us understand what are the various customer survey methods. So customer survey methods are the various tools, techniques, and methodologies which needs to be collected for the collection of information from the people in the long run as well as in the short run. So how do we collect the information from the people, which is always qualitative in nature, and the various organizations collect the information for related to their products or related to their services. The marketers in the business organization prefer the various paper pencil based questionnaire methods to collect the data face to face from the various peoples or the market organizations. Now let us understand what are the various steps to conduct an effective survey. The first step in conducting an effective survey is determining who will participate in the survey. The second step is deciding the what type of survey will be undertaken. That is, whether it will be an email survey, whether it will be an online survey, or whether it will be an in-person, that is face-to-face or physical survey. The third step in conducting an effective survey is designing the survey questions and layout. So accordingly, we need to design the survey questions. We need to prepare a proper and effective layout. And on those particular basis, the survey layout can be understood and the questionnaire can be designed. The next perspective is distributing the surveys. So accordingly, we need to distribute the surveys to the different people, and accordingly, the response can be collected from the various respondents. The fifth step for conducting an effective survey is analyzing the responses. So accordingly, we need to analyze the various responses, and accordingly, the data should be collected from the various respondents. And lastly, writing up the results. So on the basis of the analysis, we need to write up the results as to what are our analysis, what is the interpretation on which basis we have collected the data. So here in case, we need to understand or we can conclude that whatever data that we are collecting or the information that we are collecting, always it should be an authenticated information, and accordingly, we must try to always focus on delivering the qualitative product or service to the consumers. The checklist in the appendix or the information that we are collecting, it should always have a certain creation of information from the people point of view, and accordingly, only qualitative information should be collected from the customers or from the respondents. The survey call model of this customer satisfaction survey focuses on major 5 categories, that is dependability, responsiveness, assurance, empathy, and tangibles. And on those particular basis or characteristics, one must try to identify what is the service quality gap and how those particular gap can be fulfilled in order to identify about how those particular services can be fulfilled and a better level of customer satisfaction can be improvised. Now let's summarize what we have learned in this particular session. In this particular session, we have understood what do we mean by a customer satisfaction survey, what are the various activities that have been performed under the customer satisfaction survey, and what is the benefit of conducting a customer satisfaction survey. And simultaneously, we have also understood what are the various examples of conducting a customer satisfaction survey. I hope you must have enjoyed the learning in this particular session. We'll stay connected and we'll continue with our learning. Thank you for your patience listening. Thank you.